What is this?
Forspoken. Is it worth it? I think so, but not for $70. Let's get into it. An action RPG with an average fantasy world with great traversal, terrible characters, but great character development, with a predictable story but still heart-wrenching ending. When it's all said and done, it's all carried by amazing gameplay. So the gameplay is an open world RPG. Level up, kill enemies, same stuff you've seen everywhere, but the thing that really makes it enjoyable is the flashy mechanics, the special moves, and the different abilities that pretty much have some amazing synergy, even though when you go into the skill tree, you're just clicking on random things that look cool. But for some reason, it all comes together. When we get to traversal is when you have so much fun with this world. Climbing the side of mountains, jumping on top of buildings, just doing parkour across open valleys, trying to keep your stamina meter from running out. Forspoken just has so much flash and dexterity that I just couldn't help but to lean into my chair every time I picked up the controller. All the combat's pretty flashy, but what are you fighting? Well, run-of-the-mill zombies, birds, crazy animals with great design, but they just do the same thing. Run at you, you dodge, you kill them. Simple as that. But the one issue I do have with the combat system is flying enemy types. Good luck trying to fight these enemies because besides them flying around, you have very limited range when it comes to all your attacks. And you don't really have any moves to actually keep you sustained in mid-air combat to get up close and personal. Overall, everything else dies pretty frequently, whether it's a normal enemy or it's a boss. They are kind of bullet spongy, but with your assist abilities, it makes taking them down really simple. When it comes down to the skill tree, it's pretty simple. You level up one thing and you move on to the immediate next level up on that path. Take this skill and then take the next skill if you want this last final skill. That's all you can do. There's no way for you to actually build around if you want to avoid, say, an ability to give you extra health. Well, if I'm not taking damage because I'm pretty good, what's the point of me getting this skill? Well, you got to take it anyway if you really want to get to the next ability. So character customization is also pretty simple. You pick up a cloak, you pick up a necklace. Now there's different types of cloaks and necklaces you get from unlocking chests by doing dungeons in the open world. But you don't really know what these cloaks or necklaces will do until after you go out of your way to get them. You also have the fingernail polish system, which does let you change up the stats on your magic abilities, but throughout my entire playthrough, I didn't change them at all. Level design. The open world is full of random objectives, random missions, and random side quests. But when it comes down to it, the open world itself is pretty barren, which could make it a little bit boring. But due to the parkour system and the super speed, you just have more fun just blitzing through everything than sitting around. There's no reason for me to be like, oh, wow, this thing looks really cool, because yeah, it looks cool. There is a mini game for you to take pictures, but besides that, it's just a huge open world with nothing in it. But it's that traversal, man. The traversal just makes it makes it a non-factor, because yeah, there's nothing in it, but I'm over here practicing my parkour skills, so it's like, does it even matter? So there's two things. There's the open world and then there's actual levels, and you can feel the level whenever you walk into like the domain of one of the 4 enemies in the game. When you walk into the domain, you're like, okay, this is a level, which does feel pretty sculpted. You start running down a hill, you go inside a castle, and then you're fighting your way up the castle. But instead of just going straight down the road, you can go up the buildings. You can skip majority of the level just to get to the boss, which is something I personally really enjoy. Like, how can I skip my way to the boss? And they give you that level of freedom in this game that I really enjoy. There's not many invisible walls, and the invisible walls they do have is sectioned off into the home base, which nullifies your powers completely, which does slow down the game tremendously. But at the same time, if it wasn't there, you'd probably be skipping around that level as well. So I understand why they, kept the invisible walls and turned off your powers. Even though it doesn't make sense, it makes sense for the story until later on. But besides that, it's understandable. The story of Forspoken is average It's very predictable, but at the same time, the character development and the ending is what really drives home that this game actually has something in it. It's a run of the mill, the modern character gets transported back in time, except this time they have magic powers. Now, she does have a companion with her. We're going to call him Cuff because that's what they call him throughout the whole game, even though he likes to be called Van Broge, which I think personally sounds better. Cuff and Faye have an interesting dynamic. It seems like throughout the game that they're actually getting along like, the average game, but Faye's character is just so mean. When they're bonding, it's great. But then for some reason, Faye just turns into a dickhead to Cuff for no reason. Before you can really get attached to them, she just keeps shutting him off. And yeah, she has abandonment issues. She has a philosophy that if anybody helps her, it's because they want something else in return. Which, honestly speaking, she's pretty right. But she's so hard pressed on that stance that she doesn't let anybody in. And it's up to the very last moment in the game where she actually changes. Changes for the better. But the entire game, you're like, okay, I just want her to do better. Even though the story is pretty generic, I couldn't help but to actually pay attention every time a cinematic came on. Whether it was the quick wits from Cuff, whether it was Faye just being a douche, or the other characters trying to figure out what this girl from a different time period is even talking about. She says vulgar words, and of course these medieval people don't know what she's talking about. So they repeat the words and she's like, oh, that's a bad word. I probably shouldn't be teaching these people that. So it does have an interesting dynamic. The story, like I said, it is predictable, but at the same time, it's enjoyable. The character development is there. It does take a long time, but when it does finally get there, you're having a great time. And the great thing about this game is it does have an epilogue, which lets you continue the story with this new development of Faye and Cuff. Overall, Forspoken left me excited for a sequel. I'm really interested that Faye has become a more forgiving person, and Cuff maybe is gonna have a change of heart in the sequel. But what mainly made me enjoy Forspoken was the combat. And it honestly just keeps me playing this game even though the story is done, even though the tasks may be repetitive, even though the world might just be super open and not much in it besides side activity. I do want to go and complete all of the side activities because the gameplay is just that fun. Overall, I'm going to give Forspoken a 7 out of 10. The reason why I'm giving a 7 and not a 6, because even though everybody else hated this game, I gave it a chance, and there's nothing in this game that says, hey, this is actually bad. Sure, some of the lines may be cringy, but the game itself is not bad. Not every game has to be an Elden Ring or God of War for it to be a good game. Forspoken is definitely a good game. But the reason why I'm not giving it an 8 is because the price is way too high for what's offered. $70, this is not it. $40, definitely say pick up the game. Also, the game needs a bit more Homer.
Hey, Homer. I'm sorry I'm late, I know.
But that's all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you did pick up Forspoken, let me know what you think. Is the hate getting blown out of proportion? I don't know. I think so. But what do you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know. It's your boy Miss. This is Gamer Untitled Playground, and we'll see you guys next time.